guys did a phenomenal job. And I want to see more of us heal. I want to see more of us be restored. And I want to see us continue to thrive. Hello to everyone who watches this video. Please know that my purpose for sharing this is because I truly desire to get this information to as many people as possible. And I think the best way to do that would be to reach out to the founders of Cut It Kinky and Black Girl Curls directly, because they were the ones who shared, the method with so many of us, and are able to have the community, have the information to get it to those who've been trained as professionals and those who've taken the courses with them as consumers, as individual consumers as well. So with that said, let me just go ahead and get on into it. I am a tight curl specialist. I was coined with that lovely title after training with Cut It Kinky. I did my first training back in October of 2019. I drove out to DC. I'm based in New York City. Drove out to DC in October of 2019. And at the time, my draw, the purpose for attending was really just to learn the cutting technique, because I'd been cutting curly for quite some time, and then I had to put it on the back burner because my clients weren't happy with the shapes that they were getting, or the outcomes that they were getting with the curly cuts that I had, learned the techniques from previous, platforms or previous entities. So when I learned of Cut It Kinky and it being so specific to tight curls, which is the bulk of my clientele, I wanted to learn their techniques. So I drove out to DC. It was a very tough weekend for me because I was so exhausted that I got the bare minimum I could get. I had paid for the course. I got the bare minimum I could get, and it was so mind-blowing. I was so impressed that I said, okay, you just dropped a whole lot on me. I'm gonna have to come back and take another class. So hopefully you'll have something closer to New York. And so I was waiting for their next class to drop. Sure enough, it wasn't nowhere near New York. It was all the way in, I think it was San Francisco, California. So I flew out to California to take this course. And I wanted to pay attention to the systems that were introduced to us, the products that were introduced to us, and how to utilize them. And the reason why that was so important to me to add on to my cutting repertoire was because I had been serving, the tight curl community for so long that I felt like with my texture, I was getting great results, in terms of curl definition, but I wasn't getting I wasn't getting through to certain textures that I felt like I could improve upon. There were individuals whose hair, like I would do ladies who were wearing twist outs, and I was trying to bring them over to the wash and go, and I would be able to achieve the wash and go, but it wouldn't last for some of them, and I was distraught about that because I know how to define some curls. So that was one part of it. And another part of it was, there were individuals who at that time were not wanting to style their hair with my tried and true Echo Styler. I love me some Echo Styler or Eco Styler, however you pronounce it. I had no problem with that. I had no problem with Shea Moisture leave-ins, things like that. And so there were people who wanted to use cleaner products. And so because, Cut It Kinky had incorporated this process where you included these quality, salon quality products that were water soluble, that were botanical based, I wanted to bring that to my clients. But I wanted to do it in a responsible way. And so I made sure that after doing my training, that I did a case study I started to roll it out with just one client at a time. I was going to review, her outcomes, over, several months. And then COVID, the pandemic hit, and we had to shut down. So when we resumed, that particular client was no longer, she didn't come back. So I had to roll it out with other clients, other existing clients who were willing to participate. And sure enough, the report was coming back that yes, Bana, I do like my hair, with this system of products better than, what we were doing before. And I was like, okay, I'm humbled by it. But, that's why I invested into this so I can see if this is something worth, incorporating into my salon for more of my clients. And so I slowly rolled it out, and I did see it working wonders, for my clients. And just so you know, I had a stylist who used to do my cuts on me. I would have my hair cut on straightened hair, and people questioned me about that, but it was a stylist who I'd gone to beauty school. We'd gone to beauty school together. Her specialty was silk press. That was her specialty. My specialty was natural hair. So when I went to her to get my trims, it was bound to be on straightened hair because that was her specialty, and she's someone I trusted. So she had been cutting my hair for, at that point, probably 8 years, my natural hair journey, about every 3 to 4 months. And so when the pandemic hit, she had a compromised, immune system and didn't want to take any clients. So I had to seek someone else, to cut my hair. So that is when I began getting my own hair cut curly. And I enjoyed that experience very much. And I finally decided to get my hair cut into a shape. So fast forward, when I had an opportunity to sit in her chair again after things had calmed down with COVID, was for the very first time in January of 2023. By this time, I had fully, been following the method, the Cut It Kinky method, the Black Girl Curl method, since 2020 when I implemented it on myself. I don't know the exact date, but sometime during the pandemic shutdown, I had implemented everything fully on myself. And so when I saw her, it was in January of 2023, she felt my hair. She said to me, "What have you been doing? Because your hair feels so good. What kind of treatments are you doing? Because your hair feels so good." And so that was like a confirmation to me. I mean, it wasn't just in my own mind that my hair was in great condition, but here's someone touching my hair who had touched my hair, over the years and had never felt it feel that good, So, and in addition to that, that was the very first time I had asked her to cut my hair significantly in its blown out state. I usually had gotten trims with her, but I had gotten a shape that was growing out, and I actually wanted to bring it closer. I felt like there was too much of a gap in between, one part of my hair to the other, my layers. So I wanted to bring it closer together, and I did it, on straightened hair. Shouldn't have done it that way. But anyway, we did it that way. I had her cut several inches while it was straight. And so while it was straight was the best ends I had ever felt. I had never felt my ends like that before. And she had cut my hair years, for several years. So anyway, fast forward, since that was January 2023, my hair was in pristine condition. Now let's fast forward to my most recent cut, okay, before this here, what's going on here. I got my hair cut in October of 2024, specifically because I had been, trying to get back to this shape, this hair inspiration shape that I really, really liked from 2015. And when I got my hair cut in October 2024, several inches cut off while it was curly. And then a few weeks later, a few washes later, I noticed that my ends were not pristine. They were nowhere near the quality that they had been back in January of 2023. They were kind of wispy. They were kind of funky. So that was my first, red flag. And then I also started to notice things like with my detangling, when I had the conditioner on, it wouldn't get foamy anymore. It would just kind of like melt into my hair. And then I also noticed, and I wasn't sure if I was just being hypersensitive at this point, but I felt like I had some breakage in my most vulnerable area, my low porosity hair in the crown section. And then I also noticed a little bit of breakage right on the top just most recently. And so as the information started to come more, more rapidly, I started to tune in a little bit more. There's so much information. This is kind of hard for me just to drop it really quickly. So let me try and be as succinct as possible. There was so many videos coming out with Shelly and African Hair God and Rosie that I did not, really, I didn't feel like were messages to me, even though tight curl specialist was mentioned several times. Specifically because, relating curly cutting to damage to their hair didn't make sense to me. I know cutting your hair in its curly state or in a straight state, either way it's a cut. So it wouldn't necessarily cause damage. So when I started to hear that people were experiencing, that individuals had experienced damage as it related to anything else, like products, again, I attribute that to, people can have adverse reactions to different ingredients and different formulations and different products, and that just makes sense to me. So again, there was no alarm to me. And when I noticed some of my colleagues had pivoted from curly cuts and were doing straight cuts, like my colleague, Aubrey of One Morel Treatment, I just assumed that it was because they were impacted by the curly cut, business not being as fulfilling as before. And so now they were shifting to straight hair cutting to, to do that particular, service. And so with all of that, I still was not shooken up or concerned in any way until I spoke with my colleague about leave-in conditioners. And I had gotten that cut and I'm like, wait a minute, my hair wasn't as juicy as it usually is after a significant cut. So maybe I do need to incorporate leave-in conditioners and deep conditioners. That's something that we hadn't done. We had left out for quite some time as a part of doing the method. But then a few weeks ago, African Hair God shared a video with a young lady named Ebony Painter when she talked about the impact of using balanced shampoo and how it had been too harsh on her hair and caused her lots of damage because of all the over cleansing. That really started to click. So all these things clicking in to me really became concerning. And my last trim was scheduled to be a curly cut, for this week. It was already scheduled 3 months ago. I decided that I'm going to have my hair blown out so I can have my hair, assessed. And sure enough, it is determined that I had several inches of hair that needed to be cut off. The low porosity hair concentrated in my crown section is so dry, so fragile, it has begun to break. Actually, I've got a lot of breakage in this area.
Possibly on the verge of 2 inches. And it's kind of a pretty straight shot all the way around. That would eliminate all of it. Okay.
When I zoom in to take a closer look at the ends of my hair while it's curled, they actually look pretty good in the back. But in the blown out state, you can actually see that there's less melanin there that have that color change. And so there's definitely compromise to my ends. And according to the stylist who was doing my blowout and my cut, I have at least 2 inches that need to come off and was taken off for sure. That's pretty significant considering that several inches were cut off just 3 months ago. And if I were someone who were looking to retain length, that would have been devastating because I would have been holding on to all that hair and it just would have been traveling further up the strands. I also have breakage on the top of my head where I sit under the dryer, even though I now only sit under the dryer for about 20 minutes. Because my hair is so dehydrated, it cannot really support the level of heat coming down on my head. I learned this from Tammy. Tammy Moore was the one who mentioned this, that she had heard actually from African Hair God that it would be better for her not to sit under the hooded dryer for that very reason. And I have since stopped having my clients sit under the dryer for extended period of time because we know our hair is dry due to the lack of leave-in conditioning and deep conditioning and the over cleansing. And I just wanted you all to know that it's not a select few individuals who had an adverse reaction to some ingredients. Even my hair that thrives thrived off of this method. It really thrived. I loved it. I'm impacted. I've experienced now breakage. I've experienced now dehydration. I've experienced now dry hair. And it really needs to be known. It can sneak up on you is what I'm learning. That even though your hair looks fine, my hair looked fine. It was behaving differently. And it just wasn't, it didn't stand out to me that much of an alarm. But if people are saying they're experiencing damage, we need to examine it because it's real. No one is immune to this. I have hair that has been considered unicorn hair that is more resilient than the average individual. And I am not immune to this. It has been hard for me to want to speak out publicly over the past 2 weeks because I needed to focus on my clients. They're my first priority. You got to get your own house in order before you can speak to others. So I've been in communication with my clients, and I'm still in communication with them. We're right in the midst of doing, our analysis as they come in, is what I'm going to be doing. But I wanted you all to know as soon as possible that, as much as it may seem horrific to people, I'm not going to put down anyone about this. We just didn't know. I feel like we had something great. You did something phenomenal. You had talents that you demonstrated. You put something in place. You coined something to hydrate and define. And that is perfectly coined because we did hydrate and we did define. And it's a process. It's not like wash and go. That terminology throws people off. Like, I can just wash and go. My hair's going. No, you need to hydrate and define. But now we know we need to do more than just hydrate. We need to do more moisture as well. And so what I just want to encourage you ladies is that, you've taught us so much. You really poured into us. The mastermind that you had for professionals was excellent. Loved it. And I remember you telling us that the things that you did when you first got started didn't look pretty, even though what you're doing now at that time was all polished and everything. But just starting out, you weren't that polished. You encouraged us to get out of our comfort zone and to just put ourselves out there and to communicate our value. And I appreciate so much of the business training that you gave us, so much of what you introduced to us. It was phenomenal. The only thing is, anything that you start, it's just a start. It's just a start. We need a Hydrate and Define 2.0 and more. Any big business that's been out there may have a beta version, and then they go out and they put out the real version, and then they keep tweaking it. Even airline professionals over there, they're called pilots. From the moment they start the plane, and if they're flying out, I'm based in New York, if they're flying from New York to California, the entire time they're flying, they have a technical system that calibrates the direction for them the entire flight. So they may start off here, and if they just kept going straight, the plane would start to veer off off track. So they have a system of calibrating the entire way. You just need to calibrate. And so at this point, I just want to encourage you to stay the course, to reach out to all of the individuals. You may have the email addresses. Reach out to all the individuals whom you've trained as professionals and whom you've taught as consumers how to do their hair with the method, and let them know, people have experienced damage and no one is immune to it if you continue on this path. It's really important that people know, because if they don't know, they could be sitting on the sidelines like me thinking everything's okay, and we could be going further down a decline that we were not anticipating. And I wish you no harm. I wish no one any harm. I just want you to receive this in the spirit of love that is given, because we all, have areas of improvement. No one is perfect. You guys did a phenomenal job. And I want to see more of us heal. I want to see more of us be restored. And I want to see us continue to thrive. All right? Thank you so much for listening to this message. I appreciate each and every one of you.